The government have failed the people time and time again. We saw it with Hurricane Katrina, and I think we're seeing it again now. All right, it wasn't that long ago that the U.S. emerged as the undisputed sole superpower. The Soviet Union had just fallen, Germany just reunited, and China was undergoing a seismic shift that in about 30 years brought them to the position of the world's second economic powerhouse. But coronavirus seems to have upended that reality, laying bare some of America's frailest components that were long hidden behind tanks and Tomahawk missiles. We're seeing mass graves in New York and stories of how a COVID test in Philly gets sent to LA for processing, taking days for those results. Is this the way a world superpower treats its citizens? Here to discuss, our panel, investigative journalist Ben Swan and co-host of Watching the Hawks, Tyrell Ventura. So guys, let's imagine an America after the COVID crisis, a crisis that has shown everyone our soft underbelly. What are some of the things the U.S. might need to reconsider in terms of, say, foreign policy, Ben?
Well, I think there's a lot of things to reconsider. Certainly on the domestic front, I think there's a lot of questions, but I'll do the foreign policy one first. In terms of foreign policy, I think one of the things that it really demonstrates is that we put an awful lot of our fortune and treasure into wars that yield nothing, into creating enemies around the world and creating terrorism around the world in our war on terror. The only thing that we have actually done through the war on terror is create more war and more terror. But what we have failed to do is recognize the importance of having proper systems in place, medical equipment in place, right here at home. We have a weak infrastructure here at home to take care of these kinds of problems, and yet we're spending still massive amounts of money. We're talking about trillions of dollars on fighting wars that, again, yield absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and Ty, we have seen how the government have failed the people time and time again. We saw it with Hurricane Katrina, and I think we're seeing it again now with coronavirus. But to fill those gaps, communities have actually sprung up and come together. Can you pick it up from there? What are you seeing?
Well, yeah, I mean, communities are coming together in ways that I think to make up for the failure of the federal government. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, people around the country are starting to look at themselves and really ask serious questions of, is this system of government who's in charge worth keeping when it cannot protect its citizens from a pandemic or a natural disaster? Because that's the utmost, I mean, that's one of the main responsibilities of a government is that, yes, they couldn't see this particular virus coming, but at the end of the day, they knew that something like this would come, and they were not prepared for it. Why? Because they chose to spend all of their money on pointless missiles and pointless battleships and other things that are a waste of our infrastructure. Our infrastructure, our health infrastructure, and our transportation infrastructure are miserable failures. We are not a superpower. This disease, this pandemic has showed the world that we are not the superpower we pretended to be. We are just a superpower in how much money we could spend on weapons of war.
And Ben, the president has boasted about America's world-class medical system here. In light of the coronavirus, though, is it?
Well, look, I think there's some severe problems, but I think one of the problems, and I got to say this, is in the way that we have listened to certain groups about the danger of this virus when just about every single numeric prediction that has been made has been wrong. And so one of the things that I worry about, you know, when we talk about superpowers, China is certainly a superpower, but they are a top-down communist government that controls its people. We're supposed to be a democratic republic, but we are not acting at all like a democratic republic at this point. In fact, when we're seeing the kinds of orders that are coming from governors and from mayors and even from the Trump administration itself, orders coming down to people about behavior and what they can and cannot do, we're not acting at all like a democratic republic. And I think certainly on the healthcare front, you know, we talk about ventilators and we say, well, we're going to need 30,000 or 50,000 ventilators, and then cities like New York City need fewer than 6,000. So I think that just the numbers are wrong, and we're getting bad information, and then we're just spreading this information almost like a game of telephone, and it's coming from a top-down system, and there's very little accountability in our system to correct things when they go wrong.
Yeah, and Todd, what about that? I mean, there's been talk about, you know, speaking of civil liberties, there are talks about, you know, creating this coronavirus federal list of who's infected. It's kind of like these monitoring watch lists, right, that we do see in other governments like in China, where they are watching us. Well, we already know they're watching, but what do you think of that?
Well, you have to have a balance between being able to handle and contain the virus and at the same time keep people's freedom. Sadly, in a situation like this, there's got to be a little give and there's got to be a little take. The key is what happens after the virus is contained? What happens next? Do they keep those things in place or do they roll them back? Time and again in the U.S., like we saw after 9/11, you pass things like the Patriot Act that strip us of our rights. And then after the war on terror is quote unquote done, even though you picked the war on terror, which can never technically be done. But after the crisis is over, that's when you need to pressure the government. That's when you need leaders to step up and say, okay, these elements we put in place to protect us during this time of emergency now need to be rolled back. The problem is we don't have leaders and we don't have a system of government that allows that kind of rollback and that kind of self-reflection after the crisis and emergency is passed.
And Ben, you and I have been talking about this all week. We obviously saw Congress take swift action on the stimulus package to aid regular people out of the billions and billions that they carved out, a little bit for us, for Joe Schmo. But that doesn't amount to the amount of dollars that this country has spent on making war.
Oh, not even close. The amount of money that's been spent on war, it doesn't even come close to what we're spending right now. But what's really interesting, too, is it all comes down, in my mind, to a for-profit system. Too many things are being set up for profit, and people who are on the inside make too much profit out of these situations. I think what Ty was saying is absolutely correct when you talk about, for instance, the situation with this Healthcare Patriot Act, which they're trying to push through right now, and Jared Kushner is behind. Well, there's a lot of private companies that are about to make billions of dollars off of this system. And so because we incentivize it with profit, everyone is seeming to profit right now off of these situations. People like Bill Gates are profiting off of where we are right now, while there are tens of millions of Americans right now unemployed. And the question remains for them, do they ever get those jobs back?
Ty, I'm going to give you the last word on that.
I think that I agree with Ben, and the real problem is that we are quick to bail out the fat cats on Wall Street. We are quick to bail out those that don't need bailing out, those that, if it's a free market, as they say it is, should be allowed to go the way of the dinosaur. But instead we bail them out and leave nothing left for the common citizen. And I think that's where you're going to see a major political change in the future, because remember, after all of these pandemics throughout history, you've seen drastic changes politically in the countries that dealt with them. And I think we're going to see that around the corner, maybe not this election, but coming up very, very soon.
All right, gentlemen, great analysis from both. Tyrell Ventura, Ben Swann, thank you so much for weighing in.
Thanks.
Shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakal Kadash. Double honor to the elders at Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the icon that's pushing this word throughout the four corners of the planet. Shalom to the elect. And there you have it. Okay, America, all right, is no more, all right? Here it is, okay, you got Esau saying himself that America is no longer the superpower that it once was, all right? And that's true, man, all right? Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah is bringing this place down, okay, bit by bit, all right? Let me see. This is Isaiah 4. Yeah, okay, and that's talking about America, all right? That's talking about America in a decay, in a state of decay, all right? Okay? It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nation? All right. It says, for thou hast said in thy heart, okay, yeah, and America, okay, it said, how art thou fallen from the heavens, O Lucifer? All right, talking about Esau, all right? Okay, and the heavens that it's talking about is the state of rulership, all right? Because heaven is okay, is rulership, all right? It said, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Okay, and how did America weaken the nations? Through their democracy, philosophies, all right, their basically encroaching on other people, okay, ways of living, okay, they're encroaching on the ways of their heritage. Like I said, Esau oppressed a man in his house, man, in his heritage. Roughly paraphrasing. For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into the heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. All right, and that's what we're seeing right now. We seeing America being brought down, okay, to hell, man, which is being brought down, okay, out of rulership, okay, out of being a world superpower, okay, and ultimately being destroyed by the thermonuclear missiles in the chariots of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, okay, and followed by Esau and the other heathen nations going into captivity under, okay, the Israelites, okay, first and foremost under Yahweh Shah, all right, King David, okay, and 144 elect, all right, okay, that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing take place, all right. Let's see. This is Revelations 18:2. This is Revelations 18:2. It says, and he cried mighty with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the whole of every foul spirit, and cage, Salakia, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Okay, well, and that wine is, like I said, America, philosophies, democracy, all right, and following after America ways in general. All right, that's why you have like Chinese people come over here, all right, and they'll ditch their what would you call they'll ditch their heritage and put on suits instead of wearing their what they're accustomed to. They'll forsake their customs and adapt to American customs. So same thing with Ishmael. The Arabs put on a suit, shave their beard, all right, and become acclimated, okay, with America, man. Okay, giving women, okay, rights over men, all right, things of that nature. For all nations have drunk of the wine of her wrath, of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Okay, so what we're seeing now, all right, is a fall of Babylon, which in turn these other nations are going to fall as well. All right, because America is the headquarters, okay, of America is the headquarters of wickedness, man. Let me see. Close out with this. Salakia. Okay, so I'm gonna start at 1. Jeremiah 51:1, thus said the Lord, behold, I raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind. And what is that destroying wind? That destroying wind is the thermonuclear missiles. And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let her archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine, and spare ye not your young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Thus, it says, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Yeah, so America is about to be paid back for all this wickedness it have done, okay, to the Lord's people, and also the wickedness they have done against the Lord, man. All right. It says Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. Yeah, like I said, all right. These other nations have waxed rich, okay, off of America, and chiefly off the backs of the blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, man, by way of oppression, okay, by way of slavery, okay, by way of keeping their foot on our necks, man. It says Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. All right. It says Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. Yeah, and the word balm means medicine. Okay. Okay, and that's what, and you see that in there. It says take balm for her pain. All right, and you see that in the stimulus package that they're trying to push. You see that in all the money that they're printing up. All right, you see that in various things that they're trying to. Okay, even Donald Trump. Okay, his rally cry for when he got elected was "Make America Great Again." All right, okay, but the Lord is bringing judgment on America, so America never going to be great. It say we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let her go every one into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted even to the skies. The Lord have brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. Okay? All right, so that's what we seeing, man. All right, they're trying to hell, okay, America, but America is pretty much it's called CTD, man, circling the drain, man. All right, it's on its way out of here. Okay, so with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem, Rakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders at Great Millstone. Peace and salutation to the Akim that's pushing his word throughout the four corners of the planet. Shalom to the elect.